AI guardrails, you hear that term thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? We're told it's the thing that's going to keep AI safe, but is the reality really as simple as the name makes it sound? Okay, let's get into it. You know, the idea of a guardrail is incredibly appealing. It makes you feel a sense of solid, predictable safety. It's this really simple promise: hey, don't worry, we're building a barrier to keep this powerful AI on the right path. And this quote from the University of York it hits the nail on the head. We immediately picture a highway barrier, something made of steel, something strong and physical that's going to stop a car from flying off a cliff. It's a really comforting image. But here's the million-dollar question. Can you really apply a physical metaphor, like a highway barrier, to something as weird and abstract and complex as an artificial intelligence? And this is exactly where that simple metaphor starts to completely break down. The idea of a simple barrier, well, it creates an illusion of control that just doesn't line up with how these systems actually work. Let's be real, an AI model is not a road. As researchers from York point out, it's this vast, high-dimensional space with maybe billions of parameters. You can't just build a wall in a space you can't even properly see or understand. You know what it's like? It's like the handrails in an MC Escher drawing. They look like they're there for safety, to guide you, but they twist and turn in these impossible, paradoxical directions. A simple AI guardrail can create that exact same illusion, a feeling of safety that isn't really there. And this is exactly how people exploit that illusion. The term for it is jailbreaking. It's basically the art of crafting a really clever prompt that tricks the AI into just walking right past its own safety rules. It's like finding a weird gap in that Escher handrail and just strolling on through. So, if a single wall doesn't work, what's the answer? Well, it actually comes from a field that's been dealing with complex risks for a long, long time: safety engineering. We have to stop thinking about a single guardrail and start thinking about a layered defense. The whole idea here is that you just can't rely on one single safety measure to be perfect. It's never going to be. So instead, you build multiple layers of protection. You basically assume that if one layer fails, another one down the line is going to catch the problem. It's just a much more robust way to think about it. Okay, so let's look at two of the most basic layers. On one side, you have prompt engineering. Think of this as the first line of defense. It's where we carefully shape the instructions we give to the AI to kind of guide it in the right direction. But then you have agent guardrails. These are a whole different beast. They act as a hard, non-negotiable filter on the AI's output. They enforce the rules after the fact. So one tries to gently guide, and the other stands there like a final defensive shield. So let's trace how this all fits together. It all starts with the user's input, right? That then gets shaped by that prompt engineering layer we just talked about. Then, after the AI model does its thing and generates a response, it hits that second critical barrier, the output guardrail, which acts as a final filter. Only after it passes that check does a safe response actually get sent back to the user. Okay, so that's all the theory, but what does this layered defense actually look like in practice? How are developers and big organizations really putting these ideas to work today? Well, these are the monsters we're trying to keep locked up, and the list of what can go wrong is, well, it's long, and it's pretty serious. We're talking about everything from leaking private data and prompt injections to generating toxic, hateful content and even being used for illegal activity. Every single one of these needs its own kind of defense. So the key is how we apply these defenses. Input guards are all about being proactive. They check the user's request before it even gets to the AI, and they're looking for stuff like those jailbreak attempts. On the other hand, output guards are reactive. They check the AI's answer after it's been created, scanning for things like toxic language or data leaks. And this isn't just about code. Big organizations are building entire high-level strategies around this. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework is a perfect example. It's like a blueprint for this. It's a whole cycle of governing your policies, mapping out your risks, measuring them, and then actively managing them. It brings some serious structure to the whole process. Now, beyond the technical fixes and company policies, there's a final, really powerful layer of defense that's starting to take shape: government regulation. This is the point where guardrails stop being just a best practice and start becoming a legal requirement. A perfect example of this is the EU AI Act. It's a landmark piece of legislation that takes a risk-based approach. See, it doesn't treat all AI the same. Instead, it singles out specific high-risk categories that are going to face the absolute strictest rules and requirements. And this isn't some abstract future stuff. We're talking about real-world applications that affect people's lives in a huge way. AI used for your credit score, for managing our power grids, for law enforcement, and even for hiring decisions. In these areas, strong, provable guardrails are about to become mandatory. So, we have technical guardrails, we have organizational frameworks, and now we even have laws. It really seems like a pretty comprehensive solution, doesn't it? But there's one last, really challenging piece of this puzzle we have to talk about. With all of these different layers of protection stacked on top of each other, from the code all the way up to international law, it's really tempting to sit back and think, okay, we've got this figured out. But have we? 100%. What do you think that number represents? It represents the success rate of certain attacks against well-known AI guardrail systems. Yeah, recent research published this really sobering finding. Using specific, clever methods, attackers could get up to a 100% success rate in bypassing them, not 99%. A perfect score. They got through every single time. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most critical question in all of this. This isn't a problem you just solve one time and walk away from. It's a constant, dynamic struggle. As we build better protections, other people are finding new ways to get around them. So what does that mean for the future? Is true AI safety a finish line we can actually cross, or is it destined to be this perpetual arms race? That's something we're all going to have to grapple with as these systems become a bigger and bigger part of our world.